Hello everybody and welcome back to another day here at Reach and Reverie. Today is Sunday, it is December 1st, and I wanted to share with you guys what our Sundays tend to look like. One unusual thing that's not a typical Sunday is we did get our water test kits in, so we are going to be running our water samples tomorrow and getting those shipped back, overnight shipped, so that we can see if our water is safe to drink. We did get 2 test kits in the mail where we are going to be testing our rainwater and hauling water collection to see if it's safe to drink. These tests will test for several different varieties of physical contaminants, biological contaminants, herbicides, pesticides, and we also have a separate test for glyphosate, also known as Roundup. And so we are wanting to make sure that before we even use this water for cooking, for drinking, for anything like that, we want to know what we're putting into our bodies, or at least rule out some of those scary things that might be lurking in the water. We did share in our last video that we have reason to believe that one of our tanks may have been contaminated. This source that we bought tanks from, we were told they were brand new tanks, that he saw them go into the crates, and we bought them. And when we opened them, we noticed that they had a funny smell. The color on the lid was red, which indicates it's used for chemical purposes. So we reached back out to this person and he was like, oh yeah, the price you paid, those were used totes. But don't worry, it was only used for agricultural bleach. And they've been extremely well cleaned out with degreaser that they use in the oil fields. Of course, we don't trust somebody who told us that they were new totes that were food grade and safe for water hauling. So now we are scrambling to see if this water is going to be usable and see if our tanks that we put the water in, the 3,000 gallon water tanks, are salvageable. So this is our test kit. We are going to be shipping it back in this box by WaterCheck, a national testing laboratories for checking if that water's safe. The only sure way to find out if your drinking water is safe. This is our first time using them. We are going to have to read those instructions in there, and at this time I don't know if it's a product I can recommend or not, but I don't know if this is going to be a product we can recommend or not, but we wanted to take you guys along for the ride to see what we're doing, to see if our water's safe. So this isn't necessarily a how-to or a recommendation, but we wanted just to bring you guys along. And this is what the water test kit looks like. There will be room to put an ice pack in there to keep everything cold for transport back to the lab. And with that, let's get on to the rest of today's video now that we know what we're going to be working on tomorrow. This is a Sunday video, not a Monday video, but keeping you guys in the loop on what we're working on. And now, what do we do on Sundays? So Sundays are the days that we get all of the things that we procrastinated all week long done. We have a routine set up where we are pretty productive on Sundays, and usually in the morning and early afternoon. That way we can kind of relax in the afternoons and evenings and get ready for another work week. One of the things that Josh and I do every Sunday is we gather up our trash and take it up to the front of the property where our dumpster is. We do load up a little trailer on our ATV, and we only take our trash to the dumpster the night before pickup, which is Mondays, because we don't want things like raccoons digging in our dumpsters. So that being said, we have very minimal food waste. Most of our food scraps go to our chickens, and it's just very, very minimal. We probably have 1 or 2 bags a week of house trash. This week we do have a little bit more trash with boxes that we're breaking down as we were unpacking this weekend from the move we did. And Josh got this ready just in time. Last week Josh realized that there was a leak going on here with one of the coupling fitting thingies. I'm not a car person, but it was leaking. Something important that was helping the car to not overheat, and so we've noticed that the ATV was overheating pretty much right away when we were using it. I think he also has another part coming in, a little thermostat thingy, because the thermostat is staying closed and not opening. So long story short, this thing has been overheating and Josh got it fixed and we're waiting on one more part to finish that job, but we're able to take the trash out today this style instead of me walking 400 feet up to the dumpster for each load of trash that we have here. So that's one thing that we do on Sundays, is we take the trash out. Yeah. The other thing that I'm going to be doing today, and this is something we do Wednesdays and Sundays, so twice a week we are watering the plants. Last time I took you guys on the ATV to water the plants, we had a long hose that we had tied up so that we could water the plants with a hose. Since then, we have upgraded this to a more efficient system of using a 5-gallon bucket, and we switched out the hose for a 10-inch metal water pipe fitting, and essentially I can take my bucket, fill it up to however much I want to water the plants, and carry it to each plant. And that has been a lot faster because we just were not getting the pressure through the hose to make it an efficient system. So now I love watering the plants, and it has been made much easier this way. Since today is trash day, this is also the day of the week that I dedicate to picking up dog poop and cleaning the litter box inside the shop. So once a week I do get out here and I pick up all the poops, and I really am very disciplined on doing this every week so that we don't get any kind of buildup in here that is harder to manage. That way it stays nice and clean, doesn't smell, and Evie's a lot happier because this is not a very large space for her to hang out and do things in. And because Evie has a leg that is very fragile and prone to breaking, she no longer has the ability to run off leash. And since we have 5 acres, this is where we let her go to the bathroom, and then of course she still gets to go on long walks and has time to play outside of this area. But this is a small place that is easy to keep clean by maintaining once a week. And on Sundays, I like to do something a little bit easier and hands-off. So I am making a pot of beans. And in this pot of beans in the slow cooker, we have leftover ham from Thanksgiving. Josh made a smoked ham that we got from a local family who raised a pig. So that is getting thrown into this pot of beans for flavor. We like to use ham hocks, and I thought Thanksgiving ham is just as good to add flavor to these beans. So we still got a few hours, 4 hours left on the beans, and then we'll have a nice dinner. Oh, I need to make cornbread while I'm thinking about it. Now you may have noticed that the trailer is no longer attached to the ATV. Josh and I do actually rent a little laundromat shed at a local RV park where we are renting a space to store our washing machine and dryer, and that is where we wash the bulk of our laundry. We do small loads like towels throughout the week, or 1 or 2 articles here, but it is a lot more water efficient for us to go into town to wash larger loads of laundry instead of using our hard-working hauled water and rainwater collection for our laundry at this time until we get a little bit better setup where we're not wasting so much water doing things like laundry. So while I ran into town and did the laundry, Josh already emptied the trash for me, which is really sweet. And this is our dumpster that we are renting. It gets picked up once a week, and as you can see, I think we did pretty good use this week. That's about 3/4 full. Normally we have just enough trash to cover the bottom of this thing, but with us doing a lot of unpacking this weekend, we were able to get rid of a lot of extra stuff that we maybe normally wouldn't have to put in there. So now I'm going to get to it. Let me go ahead and water these plants. You can see our Pride of Barbados is still doing really good, still has green on its leaves. Once we really get regularly below freezing, all of this growth above the surface of the ground will die back, and the roots should be protected with this mulch, and they'll come back up in the spring even bigger. So I'm just gonna keep watering them because today we are in the mid-70s. And so we've been watering these guys about twice a week, trying to get their root systems really established. We have had a couple of really light freezes so far this fall, but maybe dipping down to 32 or 30 degrees Fahrenheit just for a couple hours. Not enough to even kill back the top growth yet. So we are still in gardening season. So we want to get these guys as established as possible before the winter hits us. And it will. All right, with those 5 watered, I'm gonna go ahead and hop back up into the ATV, and we will get back up to the main section of the property and water the rest of our little plants. All right, we made it back. How did you guys like riding on the tailgate there? So first I'm gonna water this section, which is right next to the RV. Now that direction is north, so these are things that like full sun or warmer climates maybe don't like the freeze as much. So I position these types of plants where they will have sun in the wintertime and some production from our north winds. So we have a little Palo Verde that's hanging in here. I'm thinking he may die back a little bit, but we also have a lot of Palo Verde seeds, so if he doesn't make it through the winter, we're going to start fresh, because I think this one may have gotten a little bit root bound. We have more Pride of Barbados in here. Now what's funny is I was calling these in several videos bird of paradise. And then I went to Austin a couple weeks ago, visited my sister, and she had these plants and told me it's actually not bird of paradise. It is a very similar looking Pride of Barbados. So that's actually what we have planted at the front of the property, and also over here we have two, and the ones up here are doing much nicer, I think, with them being protected from the cold winds. Look at how much better this one's doing than the one at the front of the property. Of course, all of these are going to die back to the ground when it freezes and come back, but we want them to have really strong root systems to survive. I'm also going to water my olive trees. I have a mission olive here, and this is a, oh, I forget, it starts with an L, like a Lucchino. I'll have to take a look. And this one has struggled quite a bit with transplanting, but it does still have green leaves and some life to it. So we'll be pruning this one to its main stem, and then let it come back in the spring. And if it's anything like our mission olive over here, it seemed to come and bounce right back after a frost. This one died back in the frost last year, and you can see where we topped it, and he's coming back. So we have no doubt that this one will eventually adjust. I'm also going to water this section. My sister, when we moved here, she had brought these from her work where she raises plants, and brought us some really beautiful plants that are native to Texas that do pretty well out here. I'm trying to remember, I'm pretty sure that's a Lucchino or Lucino olive. Now, one interesting thing I really wanted to show you guys here under our mission, let me get this guy watered. Get creative, because if you try to water him from the top of this gate, it splashes back too much. I can't quite reach this with the camera in my hand. Okay, there we go. So what's really neat is we brought some soil from our old house, and what's really neat is we do have some volunteer garden plants growing up in the soil around some of our trees that we've planted here on the property. Namely speaking, can anybody guess what that is? It's December 1st. That's a tomato plant that has sprouted. Now, it's not going to live to bear fruit. This tomato plant will die in a hard freeze. There was another tomato plant on the other side that was about 3 times that size that did die in the freeze we had this weekend. I also saw a ground cherry growing underneath that olive tree, which has died in the freeze. So it's really interesting, a bad time of the year to be growing vegetables outdoors and where we live here in far western Texas in the Chihuahuan Desert. But we get some really cold nights. We do get hard freezes throughout the winter, so anything that comes up that is frost tender will not make it till the spring, most likely. But that gives me hope that there's more seeds in the soil, and maybe, just maybe, if those seeds make it to the spring without sprouting, we might have some cool garden veggies growing all over the property where we plant trees. So with that section done, and I'm gonna let that bucket fill up, but on this side I'm gonna be watering another Palo Verde we have over here. We have the Ocotillo we're gonna water right there, some succulent cactus plants, and this is a leather stem that Josh actually brought me, that he went over to somebody's house where they were pulling this out. This is a native plant that grows in our region, and leather stem, really neat. So we added it to our little succulent garden. This Palo Verde is doing a little bit better than the other one, still stressed with the cold. And then I also recently planted out our pomegranate tree right here. And that guy, he's doing really good in his new home. It looks like he is happy and adjusting to life in the ground outside of his pot. While that's filling up, I wanted to show you the other things that we're going to be watering over here. Just a couple of things that have survived from my old garden that we were able to move in pots. I have an asparagus plant, some yarrow, and this is hyssop with some kind of volunteer something, and a little cactus that's growing up there in the soil. This, to me, I can't tell. I think it might be African basil. I don't know. We'll see. It seems to have survived the frost, so probably not basil. I did want to mention that we are watering these plants with rainwater that we've collected here on the property from the rooftop here above our RV. We do actually trust that rainwater collection as a safer resource to put on our plants right now than the hauled water, which we are pending updates from as we are sending that water off this week to be tested. We have one Cenizo, which is a type of native, like a sage, that's over here. He has lost all of his leaves. He actually got picked on by some deer, and I put a cage in. I do believe with the strong root system he should grow some leaves back. But we also have this area that I trenched out a couple weekends ago, and I interspersed both Pride of Barbados and leather stem that Josh surprised me with. So the Pride of Barbados, we did start from seed. You can see these guys on the north side of the RV, their leaves are crispy. So they are already going to be dying back. We do plan on coming out here and mulching this trench so that they can come back in the spring. And the leather stem here seems to be doing just fine. But I dug this trench. We do plan on adding gray water coming out of the shop, and we plan on running it to this trench to water this section. We're hoping that the Pride of Barbados will grow up. They can grow up to be about 6 to 10 feet when they're mature. They do typically die back every year and come back in the spring, but we thought that this would be a nice hedge that will be a good visual border to this yard that we have here, and also create some natural privacy seasonally. Well, I think that's gonna be it, but thank you guys so much for joining me today as I got some Sunday chores knocked out. We get ready for another week. We are getting into the holiday season, so our chores are going to change and shift a little bit. We'll probably gear a little bit less away from watering plants as we get into these colder months, and a little bit more towards housekeeping and getting those cozy vibes set up. So now I am wrapping up with the watering. I am gonna run inside, check on those beans we have in the slow cooker, and probably get settled in for some crocheting this evening. If you like this video, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. That way you can stay up to date with everything going on here at Reach and Reverie. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to stay tuned because we do have some updates coming up on our water testing. Is it safe to drink our rainwater? Is it safe to drink the hauled water? Wait to find out.